So we had quite an interesting FOMC last night. We've got some of the guys shouting bull things. We got some guys saying, hang on, it's still a little bit bearish out there. So guys, today we're going to break down the FOMC, and then we know Trump is doing a speech, crypto-related speech this afternoon, and that could have quite a big impact on the markets. Could be bullish, could be bearish. So I'm going to make sure you guys are covered with tons of levels on altcoins and obviously on BTC. So there's lots happening here today. Let's get right into it. And remember, guys, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe, and just a note, you might notice that this is a pre-recorded recording for you guys. So I am 2 hours ahead of time today. I had to take care of a couple of other things in the afternoon. So I just wanted to make sure you guys are all covered with some levels. So I do have some degen plays for you as well, in case they're going to play out. So enjoy and stick around. There's lots coming here for you guys. Banter Bubbles is in the house. NTGL, I don't know, it feels like not going to lie or whatever. 14% down at the moment, but that seems to be a pumper. If you look at Banter Bubbles on the 1 hour, this thing it's doing a couple of things. Look at that, 16% up on the 1 hour. So a little bit interesting there. And then I would say a mixed bag at the moment, but fair call yesterday with Bitcoin rejecting and closing that CME gap. So let's take a look at BTC and let's start tying it in to some of these alts, because what we did notice was a lot of those hedge shorts that we looked at yesterday have started coming into play for us. So those things are obviously softening the blow on any downside. So here is BTC on the 2 hour, and you can see I've marked this one now. CME gap has been closed. Now, while I'm recording this, we are moving into the US market opening right now as well. So we could see quite a bit of volatility while we are talking here. But as you know, things tend to settle down a little bit by the time we get onto the live show. So in terms of levels now for BTC, and these should be applicable for the next, let's say the next 12 hours, I would say these can be as part of your armory. What you're going to be watching is, first big one, 200-day moving average. Look at this. We've finally broken through this. 200-day MA, resistance, support, resistance. Now we've popped through. Is it going to give us some kind of support for maybe a bullish push now with Trump later on today? So 84,600, that is an area of interest for me. That's 200-day MA, horizontals, and a VWAP from the local lows. So that's an interesting play for me. Then a little bit lower down, there's two key zones right now. 83,500 and 82,500. Now, both of these are interesting. I do have a VWAP in play and horizontals at the lower one with trend. So that would be pretty interesting to me. If we get some kind of sharp sell-off in the market, we could get some kind of Bitcoin bounce there off a trend. So that is looking interesting. And then obviously, guys, if we start losing rising trends, if we start losing these types of things, we start really looking bearish on lower time frames as well. So you might find something like that. If we do drop into the 80s, then we could be faced with a situation like that. And this could be the trigger that sends us down to that 70K level, 73. And, for me, that is still not off the table. I wasn't, I'm not a macroeconomist or anything like that, but I wasn't convinced with that FOMC last night. I didn't feel super googly eyes and bullish inside that we were going to get some monster pump. But obviously, Trump can surprise us. Yeah, maybe some more catalysts come out in the next couple of days, and then maybe the bottom is in. So we'll have to let time play out. I know James is a little bit also he's on the fence a little bit.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense what they've done here. As far as the Twitter is just covered with all these bulls. The crypto bros anyway, but economists are going, this wasn't great. It was a relatively flat outcome. But I think one of the big things is that they're slowing down the QT from 25 billion to 5 billion. That's a 80% drop. So maybe that's why people are so bullish.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about this now, and we've got some of the crypto bros coming in hot, and we've got some of the crypto bros saying slow down. So I've got some interesting tweets for you guys. Okay, so you've got the levels, BTC lower time frame. You kind of know what I'm looking at to the downside. Now, in terms of upside, just very nice. Okay, very nice and clean what happened yesterday. Beautiful push up. CME gap closed. That was our 86,600 I was watching. Horizontals, little fake out through that, and a nice little sell. And I caught that short nicely on a limit order there on 𝗿𝗍𝗃. So that short is now in play on BTC. And you can see after yesterday's pump, my ETH trade actually went almost flat. So I thought after that pump, I was going to cut a little bit of that ETH position. So you can see that ETH position is now $37,000. And I have trimmed a little bit in case that was the top. In case they're going to send us down, I now have cover on BTC as the short. And we got ETH, just plucking a little bit off there. And you guys, those who are watching long enough know how long I sat in this ETH position for. And I don't want to give up some of those gains or some of the rescue gains that we have made there. So that is that for me on BTC and ETH at the moment on 𝗿𝗍𝗃. And who was like this? Because, I mean, I did get a sense yesterday. It's absolute pain out there that we get excited about a 20%, about a 2% pump in BTC. It really gets us worked up. Can you imagine how much abuse we've actually had in the markets that these things really make us excited? But there you can see that girl, she's actually crying. She's happy, sad. And then this, I took exception. James, I took absolute exception to this comment. Okay, Naive says, girls be 16, looking 30, acting 50. Crypto guys be 30, looking 50, acting 16. I take absolute offense to this comment. We're not childish at all. We don't make childish memes. Well, maybe we do. Maybe we
do. We have all the pain. Right? It's the only way you can deal with all this bullshit.
We've got to have fun. Okay, as long as we're having fun, guys, along the way. Okay, it is a little bit childish. Okay, let's talk about Trump. So this speech is in 68 minutes from now. So the speech would have come and gone by the time you are seeing this video. So I just want to tell you guys, if you see everything ripping, it's probably got to do with Trump saying something. If you've seen everything falling over, well, it's probably got to do with Trump saying something. And then you're going to be watching those levels that I gave you to the downside on a lot of these alts. Okay, so Trump is going live just now. Ash Crypto really spreading rumors. Yeah. He says Trump might announce 0% capital gains tax, other crypto investments in US to attract more capital. Blah, blah, blah. You're going to know. By the time you're watching this, you're going to know what's going on. Okay, let's talk FOMC, the big business of the day. And summary. Economy is strong. Inflation remains somewhat elevated. I love that phrase. Tariffs have driven inflation expectations higher, passing the blame onto Trump. Obviously, Fed is not in a hurry and will await further clarity. That's interesting. We're not in a hurry. We don't need to change anything. If labor market weakens, Fed can ease if needed. If economy remains strong, policy restraint can be maintained. Made technical decision to slow balance sheet decline. Okay, so we've got a couple of interesting bull posts out there at the moment, and Virtual Bacon saying finally a positive Fed balance sheet update from the FOMC. Beginning April, the committee will slow the pace of decline of its securities holdings by reducing the monthly redemption cap on treasury securities from 25 billion to 5 billion. Okay, this is the final stretch before the Fed ends QT. Now, this was obviously a big thing we were looking at yesterday. We wanted indications as if this QT was coming to an end because the whole world wants QE. Okay, and that's apparently really going to rip the market. So there was a lot of excitement about that. And this was earlier. If you want to watch this clip, Powell was basically blaming partly inflation due to Trump's tariffs. And is this like subtle handbag throwing there?
Well, that was he had an out yesterday. This was probably the most relaxed FOMC meeting he's had. He's like, with all this uncertainty in the market, how can we make a dot plot? With all this uncertainty in the market, how can we forecast anything? With all this uncertainty in the market, he said that 1,000 times. He had a great time yesterday going, it's Trump's fault, not mine this time.
Okay, so throwing some handbags there, okay? Swinging handbags at each other there a little bit. And then we had some bull posting. Arthur Hayes, obviously a big crypto personality. He says, J. Powell delivered QT basically over April 1st. The next thing we need to get bulled up for reals is either SRR exemption or a restart of QE. Was BTC 77K the bottom? He says probably. He says stonks probably have more pain left to fully convert. Okay, now that's interesting for me because we have seen quite a big correlation between the S&P and Bitcoin of late. Now we have had periods where they've been uncorrelated, but I would say if that S&P is going to fall over, I would say Bitcoin is going down with it, and it's probably going down harder with it. Never mind the shit coins as well. And then I love this note from Ben Cowan underneath. And you guys know I respect this man. He's got some quality insights as well. And I love what he has to say. And he says QT is not basically over on April 1st. They still have 35 billion per month coming off from mortgage-backed securities. They just slowed QT from 60 to 40. Okay, so that's his view on the current situation. He's basically saying just put the brakes on the bull posting here and let's actually see what we have in reality. Okay, so planting that over there, obviously Uncle Donald, he's trying to help things a little bit. He says the Fed would be much better off if they start cutting rates, and there's obviously pressure there from that side from Uncle Donald, but there's only a 16% chance that the Fed is going to cut rates in the May Fed meeting. Okay, so there you go. There's an absolute wrap of the FOMC. Do I think it's super bullish? No, but we're going to play the charts and we can change our mind. If we start breaking big levels, we change our perspective, we can get super bullish again. But right now, we stick to the existing plan. And let's start with the S&P. So you can see that S&P has just opened now. The market has gone a little bit green over here. But my current plan for the S&P is as follows. The 5750 rejection zone. 5,900 rejection zone. Those two areas make the most sense to me if there is some degree of pumpage in the market. I can't see personally that the market is going to love this FOMC so much that they're just going to print new highs. So I would think that's against what Trump was looking for. But again, anything can happen. Let's play these levels for now, and we see that we've got our low as a marker, 5,510, and we'll follow that accordingly. Now, talking about stocks. Okay, this is getting spicy out there at the moment, and Tesla owners getting doxxed as extremists launch nationwide attack. Okay, so basically, if you own a Tesla, they exposing your details, they're doing these things, and it's all about this Elon Musk hatred that's going on at the moment. And we see armed attackers already torched Teslas in Vegas, fired shots, defaced cars. Oh my God. It's a bit rough out there if you own a Tesla. So let's take a look at the Tesla chart. And you can see we've just opened a little bit down today. This is the weekly chart that we're following on Tesla. And you guys will remember we were trying to long this thing from these lows here at 213, 214, and we missed that entry. So maybe we are going to get a second bite. I'm sure they will get everything under control. We also know there's a little bit of internal politics at Tesla as well, with the board, I think, trying to get Musk out of his leadership position, from what I understand as well. So anyway, this could all give us some kind of entries on Tesla. So I'm going to say I still like 213. I still like this region as a possible bounce zone. And then obviously I'm quite a big fan of the next visit down to the 180 zone. I think one of these levels is going to give us a banger, and it's going to give us a nice mover on BTCC. Now remember, we're already trading Meta on BTCC, and this is where we're going to be trading our stocks. So if you want to trade stocks with me, this is actually a crypto and stocks platform. They got tokenized stocks, and all you do is you send your crypto to this BTCC, and you can trade Tesla with me. You can trade Meta. You can see my first position is in play at the moment on Meta. But yeah, we are cooking. It's turned green off the 200-day MA. No surprises there. And this is normally a good area to look for a little bounce. So this Meta trade that I gave you guys yesterday, it's a little bit green. So good start there for us. Remember, everything you see today, you can get under the show description. So just go under the show, click on more on the description, and you're going to see BTCC, you're going to see the accelerator course, you're going to see chart hackers, you're going to see all the other exchanges that I use. All that information is there for you under the show description there. Okay, let's go. Let's get into some of the things now. This is my weekly bear case. Okay, as you can see, this is my weekly chart bear case, and this is it's as follows. Now, if you watch me enough, you know that I'm pretty bearish under this 90 to 93K, anywhere in this region. And I'm not going to get greedy or fussy with exactly where this reverses, but I do expect something like that. If we do get some kind of hard pump, and then I do expect that we come and visit those types of levels lower down. So that would also play into that S&P rejecting quite nicely on those levels I showed you. So for me, call it 90 to 95 even is not unreasonable for a rejection zone there on BTC. And then the big support for me, 73 to 70K, that's zone number one that I'd love to see a little bit of action on. And we're still waiting for reversals on things like the weekly. So there could be a lot more time that we have to sit around, maybe chopping around here on BTC before we get our big reversal. So that's my case. Possibly, if we get a little pump, not going to get too excited. We must reclaim some big levels there. Okay, let's talk liquidation heat maps. This is a great guide for you guys. Now, especially on the lower time frame and obviously the higher time frame, I've specifically here for you guys. You can see this is showing us where the liquidation zones are, and after yesterday's big pump, you can see they took out a lot of liquidity to the upside. And you can see on the downside, if they are going to keep things bullish, there is some nice liquidity to grab here. 84,500 and down to about 83,200. That's a really nice zone to the downside for the market makers to send things. So then what I like to do is just see if we can tie this in with our chart and see if we do have any confluence in those zones. So as you can see, these levels will come into play quite nicely then if they do dip us down into those areas. And remember, guys, all these charts, they are going to be in Chart Hackers. Well, directly after you've watched the show, they will be there in Chart Hackers for you guys. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about my favorite shitcoin, and I'm not getting rid of this tweet for a long time. And you know, we're not childish. I don't know why everyone thinks we're childish, but there it is. And this was basically me feeling good. Let's go. So, there's something just so beautiful about getting out of a deep hole, okay? And I mean, you guys saw I was in a deep hole there on ETH, and when it pumps like that, it gets you quite cheerful. So what I did was obviously stick to the plan. I had a sell order at 2,099. Now that front ran that order, so I had to make an executive decision last night and say, okay, well, let me cut some just in case that was the top, just in case they want to send us down, because my plan for ETH unchanged. 2,100 danger zone, 2,400 danger zone. I'm expecting one of these areas to send us to hell on ETH, and that is going to tie in with the S&P bouncing up, rejecting. That's going to tie in with BTC as well, bouncing up, rejecting. So that is the plan. And, you know, these alts should follow if that is the plan. If not, well, they're going to rip. And we'll have to reassess when we gauge or when we grab new, start reclaiming new areas. So ETH 1516, no changes. Upside 2124, danger zones there. Let's talk Solana. No changes on the weekly for Sol. 110 is your big level. Next zone lower down, 85 to 79. Then a little bit lower, I've got 69. This whole region for me on Sol, we'll deal with it in more detail as and when we have to. If we ever get there, we will deal with it. Okay, we'll be looking for longs off those zones, but this is still my game plan on Sol. And just converting it into a little degen chart for you guys. Here we are on the 2 hour, and I've tried to break this down. So there are obviously, when you get, even if you're in bear country on a lot of these tokens, you can see the weekly charts. Maybe they want to fall over. There's always opportunity for short-term bounces, short-term reactions, scalp plays, those types of things. And obviously, it presents you with short opportunities as well. So what I've prepped here on Sol is it's a slightly bullish bounce zone here. And if we get a sell-off in the market, now this is making an assumption that things turn bearish this afternoon. By the time you're watching this, you might know what is happening. But in terms of a bounce zone for me on Sol, I like this zone. Anything from about 125 to 122, that region is making sense for me. So if you're looking for a degen bounce play or a long play, look down there. Okay, that might give you, you know, a nice move on Sol. And you can see our 2 hour oscillator is trying to come down. So we need time. We want to see this thing start resetting on the 2 hour and get a sustainable move out of it. And what could that look like? Well, for me, you know, I like these squeezy type setups. So maybe we're going to get something like that for Sol. And then we deal with what happens up there. So that's either going to be a rejection or a pop and then a rejection over there later on. So your levels to the downside, 125 to 122 degen levels, and then upside levels, you are going to be watching this 136 to 140, and you're watching 148 to 152. Those are the big danger zones to the upside. Those are the zones you look for shorts. Those are the zones you exit your trades when they are pumping. And yesterday was no different. Okay, so nice resistance zone there in play for Sol. Okay, let's go XRP. And this is one of the head shorts that I'm currently running at the moment. And I'm sure James is absolutely shocked that I'm trying to short XRP at the moment. But in terms of where we are, there's 3 zones for XRP. So if you're looking for head shorts and things like that, all you do is map out your charts and you try and find the hot zones to the upside And as the market pumps, it typically rejects at these types of areas and just mark them out. Okay, so obviously you can use my charts as a guide and everything, and they are available in Chart Hackers for you guys. But in terms of the first hot zone or rejection zone, you can see this made loads of sense for XRP to be rejecting. So 2.588 is your resistance for XRP. That's rejection zone number 1. If the market pumps, 2.77. If the market rips again, 3. Okay, so those are your TP zones. Those are the areas where, if you believe, okay, so there's a couple of ways to look at it. If you're trading degen plays, obviously you want to be TPing at those types of zones. You want to be banking the profits. But also, if you believe that Bitcoin might pump and reject between 90 and 95 and then print new lows, you don't want to be sitting in XRP beyond the 2.77, beyond the 3, because that might just reject with Bitcoin as well. So we're obviously speculating now, but just be careful up there. Okay, so, just play the levels accordingly, especially the leverage guys, bank profits, open head shorts where possible. Now, in terms of a bullish bounce zone for XRP, and this is now medium-sized sell-off in the market. Let's assume, the market wants to give us one more push to the upside before they send us to hell. Well, that for me makes sense around about this 2.33 into this order block, even in that type of zone at about 2.25. That is starting to look very interesting to me in that region, and that should give us some kind of reversal on lower time frames. Now you can see I'm watching the 4-hour here, and this 4-hour has actually started turning a little bit bearish, but we may see a situation like that along the way, and when that is playing out, we could possibly get these reversals on lower time frames. So I'm clicking on the 2-hour here. Let's take a look at this, and you can see this 2-hour wants to creep a little bit lower, so let it come down, watch those areas to the downside, and then react accordingly when you get those zones. So I wouldn't rush into this one, okay, unless you are looking for breakout plays and things like that. But for me, that's the most relaxed sort of entry now on the market if you are looking for new ones. So ideally, you want to let this thing just drift a little bit lower down. Now, let's talk Sonic. This is really respected like TA very nicely. And this has given us a couple of good results over the last couple of days. So I just want to prep you guys, because I think if we remain relatively bullish on the market, we're going to get another bounce on the Sonic. You can see I'm looking for a reset on my oscillator here on the 1 hour. So we're getting there slowly. Where do I anticipate this happening? Where do we get our next move? So that for me is either this 51, 51, call it 514 or 50. These two zones here are starting to look pretty spicy to me for even a short-term bounce. And that could just be a move just up to the trend, for example. That could just take us up there. And then once you break that trend, it can obviously get a little bit more interesting if you start cruising to these new levels to the upside. So just interesting zones here for me at the moment on the Sonic, and the 51, the 513 and 503, they're making the most sense to me for potential bounces. And this region here last night, look at this absolute banger here, straight into the danger zone. Look at that. These moving averages, the order blocks, the horizontals, they don't lie. Okay, we mark this as a danger zone, and look at that beautiful rejection there on S. So again, another reason to do the accelerator course, guys. If you want to learn about these things, why did I know it was going to react there? Why did I have, an inclination to say that was a danger zone? Well, you could do the course. Okay, the course is in the show description there for you guys. Okay, so Sonic, you've got your levels. You know what you want to do, and these are degen levels, guys. So obviously, if things turn max bearish, we can spend all day looking for new levels. But in terms of a bounce trade, those are your areas. Pay attention to those, guys. That is where we should get some kind of action out of these things. Okay, let's talk a couple of situations here. Pepe, I'm still in from yesterday. I've still got some Ondo. I've closed quite a few of the other positions. Sui, I'm trying to build a Sui position in case we get a proper rip out of the market. Okay, so Sui, I'm now at $40,000. I'm speculating at a resistance area. If we get a big pop of this big trend that I'm going to show you, then I'm going to start ramping this thing up, because I think it could be quite a big mover for us. So that is my bullish speculative play at the moment. Pepe, same trade as yesterday, no changes to that, still sitting in that guy. Ondo, no changes. XRP short, head short play. Sui started a head short. If we start pushing higher, might have to start adding to that thing. Aptos, Head short from yesterday as well. That was a chart in Hackers. TON, that's my second go at TON. I got stopped out on my first attempt at TON and still bearish on this TON. So I'm going to show you this TON chart and take you through that, explain my thought process. And then 𝗏, that's been a dark horse, and I've got the chart out for you guys because I think this may offer some kind of bullish pop for us on 𝗏. So let's start with Aptos, and you can see this was one of our danger zones, and I think our inverse hot zone actually called this one as well on Aptos. Let's pull out the hot zone indicator here. Bang. Yeah, look, it gave us the flame as well, and we got the reversal sign there on Aptos. Okay, so that's an interesting one. Now we are pushing lower. Now the question remains, are we bullish on this move or are we max bearish? So for me, I'm just going to leave this Aptos open. If the market goes to zero, it must go to zero with Aptos, but that is my head short play. So if we fall over, I'm just going to keep that thing moving down. If we start breaking new levels, then we'll plan accordingly. But anybody sitting in Aptos at the moment, if you are looking for some interesting bounce zones or you're looking for areas of interest, well, here's one over here. Okay, 5.3 makes sense to me. That's rising trend. That's VWAP in play as well. So 5.3 looks like an interesting zone, and I would expect by then you're going to get your 2-hour oscillator getting close to some kind of reversal. So just monitor it. And, you're going to be watching this show probably in an hour and a half, 2 hours time. So you'll see one or two more candles coming out, and that should hopefully guide you. So in terms of a bullish bounce zone, 5.3, watch that. In terms of danger to the upside, 5.63 and 6. Those are your danger zones there to the upside. And you can see I marked them potential short zones. And again, reaction zones coming into play for us and giving us what we want. Okay, let's talk. What's our next one? Let's talk TON. So I was quite happy to see Panda from Chart Hackers. He's one of our legendary scalp traders in there. Him and Trader J are really fucking some shit up in there in the trading zone. The guys are absolutely loving what these degens are getting up to. And Panda dropped a TON short setup earlier today. This is now on our Chart Hackers Twitter. So follow us at the Chart Hackers, and there's tons of alpha there. I mean, here's a free trade. They're giving you alpha there. He was trading some PopCat here this morning as well. He's got longs and shorts. All shit's going down here at the moment on this PopCat for him. So follow us there at the Chart Hackers. Now let's talk TON, and let's try and see why I'm still bearish on this thing. So a couple of things at play. My first attempt at this TON short was under the 50-day MA, under the weekly level, under the weekly macro trend. So for me, this is a very, very big rejection zone. Now, yesterday, we started breaking above a weekly and breaking above the 50-day MA, and we actually had a candle close above that area. And I said to the guys, I'm cutting this position if we close above that region. So I cut that position. Then I re-looked at this thing this morning again. And we can see it's really struggling. We've got an order block up here, but what really did catch my eye is this 4-hour oscillator here to the downside. Look at this. We've now printed double bearish divergence here. We've printed a blue dot. We've got multiple reversal signs. So in the past, when we see this type of thing, it's normally just a matter of time, and then you get a nice dump. You get like a 10-15% dump on these things, but sometimes you got to sit in it for a while and let it play out. So we can see from the 4-hour that is looking a little bit tired. So I've had another crack at this TON. Now, in terms of an entry, if you're jumping in now, look, when you're watching this, your ideal entry is, say, 3.63, 3.64 would be ideal, to about 3.78, somewhere in that region. That would be your lowest risk entry. That would be the entry with the tightest stop loss. Now, if you don't mind, laddering in slowly to a position, then you can be a little bit more open with where you start building your positions. But for me, I've got my first entry. My next one is going to be on a pump. Remember, if you get some kind of quick pump, that can often give you a second bite at this thing to maybe add a little bit to that short. So that is what I'm watching. Exit plan, there's a few exit plans, and you guys need to decide you need to manage your risk accordingly. You need to decide how you want to play this trade, because I'm going to give you a few exit zones that you want to pay attention to. Obviously, the higher it goes up, the more risky it starts becoming for you, and you need to manage your risk. So my plan is, if I'm wrong on this ton short, I'm going to close this thing. If the candle closes above 3.8, I'm going to start cutting. This is our high. You can see that is our high. So I'm happy with a little spike to the upside and then a reversal. That's fine for me. But if we get another close above 3.8, I'm going to cut it. Now, there is another zone a little bit higher up, 3.89. Look at this. There's a beautiful horizontal here, 3.89. So that could also offer a nice rejection. So that a close above 3.9 could also be an exit plan for you guys. You need to decide how much risk you want to take on there. Okay, so for me, above 3.8, I'm cutting this position. 4 hour looking quite bearish there. Signs that it wants to roll over. Now it's just we'll have to see how it plays out. But remember, don't get married. Don't get married to these things, okay? You saw what happened with ETH. I ended up sitting in ETH for, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Sat in that ETH position. And, that's what can happen if you get married to some of these positions. So just play it safe. You know your risk. Let's see what else we've got here. We've got hype. Okay, so, a couple of things here for hype. And we're going to have to see what Uncle Donald says on his speech. So hype has got 2 levels of interest for me. Now, we know this was an absolute banger trade over the last couple of days. And now if you're looking for a reversal, you can see I've mapped this one out for you guys. And I'm saying at the bottom, we're looking for divergence or reversal on our 1 hour oscillator. And we typically want to see that on one of these levels. So if you're watching this show now and hype has obviously run, well, you're going to have to wait for this thing to come back to you. But in terms of levels that you want to watch, 14.6, 14.7, 14.6, and 14. Those look like the most obvious zones for me for some kind of hype bounce play. And then in terms of resistance, 16.4 is going to be your target. So if we do get some momentum, you're looking for something along those lines on hype. And then to the downside, you've got the entry zones that I'm interested in. You can see I'm using the hot zone, and this hot zone's actually just printed a reversal here as well, and the engulfing candle. So that is quite an interesting reversal symbol there. Remember, the hot zone indicator gives you more than just VWAPs and FIBs and things. It gives you a whole bunch of confluence in these zones. So you've got the fire with a reversal. So 14.6, I would watch that one closely. And then 14, watch those zones there on hype, and you've got your upside target. Then here's 𝗬𝗰. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. I suspect 𝗬𝗰 could get hungry. If this market turns bullish, 𝗬𝗰 could play catch up pretty quickly. And for me, it's a potential 20% move coming on 𝗬𝗰. So I wanted to make sure that I'm prepped and ready. And I've been just adding slowly to the 𝗬𝗰 position today and growing the size. Because if we look at the oscillators, they are actually, they're not super like turbo bullish. So what I would need is this 1 hour to really start breaking through this trend and start pushing a new high here on the 1 hour to get that proper move we wanted. But in terms of 𝗬𝗰, now you're going to have to see where you are by the time you're watching the show, guys. But in terms of key supports to watch for 𝗬𝗰, 2.4, that could be a beautiful bounce zone there, 2.4. And then your next one, this could also be very nice here, 2.33 down to 2.3, 2.33 down to 2.3. Those are bullish bounce zones. Okay, I've said here, bull scenarios for the bounce. Loss of this trend and close below is bearish. Okay, so remember, we don't want to lose these rising trends. That gets pretty bearish for us. So possible 20% move for 𝗬𝗰 to 2.96 is on the table. And look, if this thing gets momentum, well, great. Okay, we're going to raise some stops and play it accordingly. Remember, if you're looking for head short zones, let this thing pump. And then you're going to start picking up some areas of interest. Let me just highlight some for you there. 2.85 is a banger, and this is an absolute banger. 3, guys, remember this. If we pump to 3 on 𝗬𝗰, that is a very big danger zone. I'm going to put my alarm on right now, and hopefully it will remind us, even in the dead of the night, if we hit 3. So 50-day MA up there, 200-day wick fill as well. Lots going on to the upside there on 𝗬𝗰. And then let's see Fartcoin. There she goes.
I was just about to come say it's ripping. Yeah, it skipped your level again. That thing loves to front run a bit sometimes, huh?
Yeah, it's because everybody's watching Fartcoin. Okay, so guys, 𝗏𝗏𝗀 is off the table. Yeah, you can see hot zone indicator had 2 zones here, lit up in 2 areas. And what I was going for is the last time we saw a divergence print on the oscillator, look how beautiful this move was. Okay, so what typically happens here when you get the divergence print, you get your first reversal sign. Okay, you get your reversal print, then they come one more time and they drop you to your next level to the downside, and the oscillator actually prints a new high. And that's normally quite a strong mover on 𝗏𝗏𝗀. Okay, so look, it's not off the table. We can still potentially get that. If we get a reversal here on that oscillator, that can still play out for us if we get a hard rejection. But yeah, in terms of farting, guys, this thing's bolted now. So levels for me, 36, 34. Those are the levels that I'd like to watch. And then just notable here, guys, 50-day moving average is resistance. So that is at 42. 42 is your danger zone there on 𝗏𝗏𝗀. That is your next region you want to break above. Okay, so 42 on 𝗏𝗏𝗀, upside danger, possible short zone, and then support 36, 34. Those are the ones I was after. And yeah, it seems like 𝗏𝗏𝗀 is now ripped without us. Now, one more for you guys, and this is 𝗏𝗏𝗀. So you can see I've been sitting in that 𝗏𝗏𝗀 position, and we might be, well, something might be brewing here. Again, these oscillators, like many of these tokens, aren't amazingly bullish. Okay, so I mean, you saw 𝗬𝗰 as well as a potential example. They're not super bullish. They're in the reversal area. So we're basically looking at this saying, is there going to be one more squeeze here? And are these things going to pop a little bit higher? If that is the case, your upside zones that you want to watch on this 𝗫𝗀𝗀 on 𝗏𝗏𝗀 is 273. Watch that. And then I want to highlight a couple of other zones here for you. 284. And 292. Okay, I wouldn't get too excited ahead of that. If I push into these zones, I'm going to be cutting that position that I'm sitting in. So those are sort of the TP zones of interest there for me, and could be a nice little squeezy move. Let's just see the size of this thing. 4%, 8%, 10%. That's beautiful for a leverage trade. Okay, so looking for something like that if we do get some kind of bullish push from Uncle Donald. If things aren't so great, guys, bullish entries. Now, subject to, you've seen all these other charts as well. Bullish entry, 253, look out there, reaction. 246, look out there, reaction. If we lose this area, we are bearish on 𝗏𝗏𝗀. We are bearish on the market. It might be really starting to get filthy and fall over there. Okay, there we go, guys. So you covered with levels on altcoins. I've given you relatively bullish levels. So these are the ones we're looking for: medium-sized dip, and then maybe that second bounce. Remember, our big level for Bitcoin on the weekly is 90 to 95. So if there is a little bit more in the tank there, it could give us one more push on these alts, and we could have one more bit of fun, a last hurrah, and then maybe we fall over. If we reclaim big levels, well, then we reassess everything as we go. So guys, I'm going to be back again, same time, same time, same place tomorrow, and we'll reassess where we are. So guys, have a good day. Catch you later.